Life can feel like a constant balancing act. Career, relationships, health, finance, faith, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, trying to pursue the dreams God placed on your heart. That's what Beyond Broken Hungry is all about. Here, we talk about real life wellness, not perfection, not extremes, but the everyday habits, mindset shifts, and faith that help us build strong, meaningful lives. Sometimes I'll be sharing conversations with wellness experts. Sometimes it will be just me reflecting on what I'm learning as a wife, entrepreneur, a woman of God, and someone trying to live well in every area of life. If you're figuring things out as you go, you're in the right place. Healthy living, real faith, full life. Welcome to Beyond Broken Hungry. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Beyond Broken Hungry. I'm Dara, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. I kind of can't believe that this is like the first full week of August. Even though I was like really enjoying the summer, it was like, oh, it's kind of almost over now. And not really. I think that parents would maybe disagree because school routines are coming back and calendars are starting to fill up like in a different way. The days are going to slowly start getting shorter. And I don't know about you, but every year I catch myself doing the same thing. The second this season starts winding down, I skip right past it and start mentally planning the next one. But before I start planning my fall routines and getting into my fall goals and my recipes and everything else, some of y'all on social media need to chill out. I start a little bit earlier every year, but it is not until like the second half of August. Okay. So I want to hit pause and I want to sit with what this summer actually looked like, because at the very beginning of this season and this whole series that I did, you guys know I was doing like Operation Take Back the Summer. And so today, after the whole summer is basically over, at least, this part of it, I want to walk you through what actually worked, what it meant to me, what didn't work, and what I'm not only going to be carrying into like next summer, but also into the next season. So let's get into it. First, let me clarify, this was never about taking the whole summer off. That was not realistic, and it's not realistic for me. It's not realistic for most people. And that just wasn't the goal. What I was focusing on, what the goal was I wanted to spend more time outside. I wanted to take advantage of living 3 miles away from the ocean. I wanted to stay active without making fitness feel rigid or like a punishment. I'd kind of been in this like weird fitness funk. And so like I was using the summer to kind of switch it up a little bit and make it more enjoyable, or, just different. So it didn't just kind of feel like the same thing. Plus it was really hot. So I was trying to switch them things up. I wanted to make real memories with my friends and family. I wanted to be intentional with my marriage. And I wanted to travel without completely abandoning my habits. So, I also wanted to like work a little extra shifts and pick up some stuff from clients that needed some extra things here and there. And I just, I just wanted summer to feel like summer again. I know every time I said this almost every episode, but like when you graduate and you become an adult and you start working in the real world, that doesn't stop. You don't just, your boss isn't like, all right, guys, end of May, we'll see you back in August, September. Like, you're working through the whole summer. So I wanted to like prove something to myself. I wanted to prove that I can enjoy my life right now in this season while still working toward the life I want later, and not have one or the other. I wanted both. So here is what I feel really worked well for me. Number one, I made more time for the beach and the outdoors. I definitely nailed that. I stopped treating beach time like a reward that I only got if everything else was on my list finished first. I made it a priority. And, it didn't always have to be some big planned out beach day. Sometimes it was just getting outside for like 20 minutes, a walk, sitting in the sun. I literally went to the beach one time and just jumped in the water and sat for like 2 minutes in the water. I guess floated for a couple minutes in the water and then left. And I was like, cool, bet, done, been to the beach. Or even just like sitting, outside instead of on the couch. And that was easier said than done because we had a very hot summer. So those were kind of short lived, but I did, play with my plants a little bit more, maintenance them, things like that. I think that we do, and I'm guilty of this as well, wait for the perfect free day to actually enjoy where we live or whatever the case is. But sometimes you just have to use those pockets of time that you actually have and not the ones that you wish you had. And that was huge for me. I really feel like I accomplished that so much that I definitely will be bleeding that into the next few seasons of life. Number two, staying active without needing like a perfect routine. Yeah, I kept doing CrossFit. I ran, I walked. I stayed active even while traveling. And mainly the active while traveling was like just walking everywhere or staying where, we could be walkable distance to whatever we wanted to do. So I let movement look different depending on where I was and what the day gave me. And this ties back to everything I talked about this summer. Like movement can be flexible. A walk around a new city counts, a beach walk counts, a hotel workout counts, and rest has its place too. You don't lose your identity as an active person just because your routine looks different for a few days or for a season. And the biggest win for me was, just obviously consistency. That's just kind of the name of the game. It doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing every single week. It means that staying in a relationship with movement, even when the shape of it changed. I joined Crunch and I started doing hot mobility classes and I did a couple yoga classes. And it wasn't a whole bunch of them, but it was just something different. I even went to Crunch once and just like stretched for 20 minutes. Like it was just different and it felt good. Number three, I enjoyed traveling without making it all or nothing. I will say I'm pretty good about doing this over the last couple of years, but especially since after the wedding being in this kind of funk, like I just felt like I really needed to be like, okay, like let's enjoy the trip, but also let's not just because I'm on a vacation means that I can eat 10,000 calories a day. So like I said, staying active, and then enjoying the food. Like I enjoyed the experiences. I did not try to make every single meal some perfectly balanced Instagram worthy plate. I wasn't eating salads on my vacations. But I also didn't use the I'm on vacation as a free pass, to just kind of bomb everything because it just as I've gotten older, it just doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like then it kind of ruins a trip because then you're bloated because I'm already bloated anyway because I'm traveling. It's just, just gotta keep some balance consistency while I was traveling. I wanted my trips to be memories, not something I had to emotionally recover from for 2 weeks after I got home. Number three, more intentional with my money. I feel like I did a pretty good job this summer at being just more mindful. And I'm always pretty mindful. I write a lot of stuff down, but I do have a tendency to let some things get away from me sometimes. And I stayed very strict to no, like I don't want to spend, $80 on accident while I'm going out with my girlfriends. So I literally would be like, how much is that drink? Okay, I'm not getting it or how much is that? Okay, I'm not going to get that. Or I'll get an appetizer to eat instead of like a meal because it's a fraction of the cost. Just like, little things like that. And this is one of those things that really mattered a lot to me. Um, because like I've said, like summer can kind of get away. You're on vacation, you're doing this, da, 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 da. So I worked extra coaching shifts, looked for side opportunities, using like the slower, more flexible part of summer to bring in a little extra income, whether that was like, working with my clients, upselling some stuff, or just like I've got clients that have brick and mortar businesses. And I was like, hey, do you need an extra hand this summer? And they were happy to pay me, So I just really put a lot of effort towards paying down some of that like wedding related debt that we still have. And I had to keep the promise to myself that the extra income has a purpose. Otherwise it just disappears into extra spending and then you have like nothing to show for it. So any extra things that I picked up, there was a purpose for it. Whether it was percentages that I kept for savings or that I kept for myself or whatever the case is, but every extra income had a job. And it was really important to me that like I enjoyed my summer and that it didn't mean creating a financial hangover that follows me straight into fall. And then when it's time to buy Christmas presents and all this other stuff, like my family has so many birthdays in the fall. I didn't want to be sit here and be like, oh, I had a great summer. Oh my God, I now have all this debt on top of my debt and then have to, you know what I mean? So I took trips, but I was mindful and looked for lower cost activities. I got creative with date nights. Beach days and time outdoors ended up being some of the most affordable and most memorable parts of my whole summer. And there was just like a real satisfaction of working a little extra and knowing exactly what that money was for. Because I think I saw like a TikTok on this, and this girl was talking about how um, she was basically making money as a creator on TikTok, just kind of sharing her financial journey. And because she got a certain amount of followers, like she was able, to profit from views and things like that. And she was talking about like how much she had left to pay off her car. And the number was like the exact number to pay off her car in the creator fund that she was like, I could have just used that money and like bought expensive furniture or whatever, but then I would still have my car debt. And so I think that we always run into this as just Americans and just in this society and people that we are. Oh, Bella wants to be on the podcast too. You have something to say about this? Um, but I think, we just fall into this trap of, well, I want this now because I want that quick satisfaction as opposed to the delayed satisfaction that I can have where I might not have X amount of, hundreds of dollars per month that I have to pay moving forward. Um, but yeah, this like delayed satisfaction of like, hey, I might not be able to go like on a shopping spree now, but if I pay this debt down, then I can basically have it in my budget any time of the month to be like, hey, I'm gonna go to TJ Maxx and get some clothes, or hey, I really like this list that this influencer put on Amazon and it's everything I need, so I'm just gonna buy the whole thing and you don't have to worry about it because you have this extra money. So that's why I'm trying to look at it. I was like, you know, knowing that that money was going towards settling some leftover wedding debt was just so much more satisfying than if I used that money for like getting my nails done or whatever. And speaking of, like, I started using these like press on sticker nails over the summer because I was not spending money at the nail salon this entire summer and I really like them. And I feel like they've been, kind of helping my nails grow because the gel was just, and the diff makes my nails really brittle and stuff anyway. So I do need to get a pedicure soon, so I'll probably be posting about that soon, so no one judge me for that. But all of that to say that, the closer I get to the principal and bottom line being zero, the closer I get to just having more money to invest in my future and save and, things like that. So, number 5 was being more present with family and friends. I spent just intentional time with people I love and made room for family, even though my family is 2 hours away. Sometimes, that gets away from you. It's 4 hours round trip, so it's like, oh, you got to go for the day and it's a whole day and, things like that. And, even with Doug's family, they live in Jacksonville. So we spent some more time with them, but you have to be like intentional about it. And so, like, I just tried not to let work eat up every single available hour. I said yes to gatherings and experiences that maybe last summer I would have been like, no, I can't. I gotta, whatever, work this or do that, or I gotta finish this and blah, blah, blah. And that's not to say I wasn't responsible with my work time. I want y'all to get that clear. Like, I was getting stuff done and saying yes to these things. I let my relationships be a part of the plan, not something that I squeezed in after everything else was done. And I think that my work was reflected better in that because I did that. Just because, at the end of the summer, like, I'm not going to remember every task I checked off. I couldn't even tell you, honestly, like some of the campaigns I did in July, like, or June. But I'm going to remember sitting with my girlfriends or sitting with my grandpa and hanging out with my grandma and going to theme parks with my mom and my sister and, just like the fun dinners at home my husband and I did over the summer, going on these little quick trips and things like that. Like, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember the time that Doug and I sat at the beach for longer than 45 minutes because he does not like the beach, but like he was down for me to have like a beach day. So we were there for like an hour and a half, and I'm going to remember that because it was important to me and I loved it. I'm going to remember when my friend Emma came to visit with her daughter and we had a beach day and we literally were at the beach for 4 hours. 4 hours. I haven't done that in such a long time and I didn't even care. Like, I wasn't even worried about like, oh my God, I have this next or I have that next or whatever the case is. I was like, okay, cool. Oh my gosh, it's been 4 hours. This is so much fun. And then everyone was like, oh yeah, like it's time to go now so we can get ready for dinner. And so number 6 is like, just going back again to like Doug and I being creative with our date nights. They didn't always have to be explosive. We definitely did like 1 or 2 nights this year where we went to like, not a super expensive restaurant, but we got dressed up and not like to the fullest, but casually cute. And, I put on makeup and did my hair. Like, they'll just give you that perspective. There was an everything shower involved. And, and then we like had a couple drinks and then came home. Like, I think a couple weeks ago, we went to like this just this Mexican restaurant that was no different than the one that we usually always go to, but it was a little bit more elevated. Same price point, like, probably actually less expensive. And then we went to go get drinks at, his cousin's bar that he works at that he gets 50% off. You know what I mean? So, and then there's, Gray Matter, it's a distillery down the road from us in Mayport, and they just opened up their, like, Enchanted Forest pop-up vibe where everything is like, cute. So we had a couple drinks from there and then we were home literally by 10 o'clock. And we just like hung out, watched a TV show and went to bed. Like it was just great. We didn't need reservations or an elaborate plan. Like it just gave us so many like chances to like try new things together, cooking at the house. Doug grilled a bunch. We have a routine that we sometimes fall off of, but we've started it back up again. We're on Thursday nights, it's Doug's night to cook. He can either cook, we can get takeout, or we can go somewhere inexpensive, but he can only get takeout or go somewhere inexpensive like once a month. The other weeks he has to cook, and sometimes we'll do it together so he doesn't feel like, even though I cook everything else, but that's okay. Um so he'll cook on Thursdays, and that's been nice because it's just something different. We've been going and walking at sunset on the bridge near where we live, and that's been really pretty. Like we've just done some more runs with this family. Like it's just been nice. We've explored some more coffee places, then coffee dates. We're actually going to the farmers market in Atlantic Beach this Sunday. And we're just, walk around and then just creating fun nights in. It's been like really nice. And being intentional with marriage isn't, always about doing something extravagant. Sometimes it's simply deciding that this time, this ordinary time, it matters. Okay, now let's switch gears to like what I think didn't work. Because I don't want to just be like, oh my God, Operation Take Back the Summer was amazing and perfect and wonderful. It's just, that's not what I'm about. Number one, I definitely put too much on the calendar. Because I was so like, take back the summer. I did not want to miss out on things. I said yes to too much. There was something happening almost every single weekend. And here's what I learned. This is like obviously Dara, but I mean fun things take energy too. And a full calendar can still leave you exhausted, even when everything on it is technically enjoyable. I started feeling like mildly burnt out towards maybe like the middle of summer. And I had to be honest with why. I had to learn the difference between a full life and an overcrowded one. It was being too spontaneous and too overcommitted, between making memories and constantly rushing from one thing to the next. And really, I don't feel like I put too much in one day or anything like that. But there would be times that I'd have a really busy work week and there'd be some events during the week that I would have to like go to or attend. And then by the time the weekend came, like I really just wanted to relax, but I wasn't able to because we had this, that, or the third going on. There was some house chores that I really wanted to get done over the summer that I did not start because I was just so busy. So, just I definitely put too much. So I feel like just next summer, I'm still gonna go in with the same mindset, but I am gonna be a little bit more mindful. Like I might try to have like the whole summer laid out first, and then, the little things I can really only say yes to a handful of things is kind of gonna be, I guess, my perspective of it. Um, that just leads into like number two, like not leaving enough empty space. Some weekends needed fewer plans, not more. And I'm not pointing blame or anything like this, but this really is a lot of it is my husband's fault because, and I'm just being honest and truthful here. Like there had been a couple of some of weekends over the summer that we had nothing going on. And because we had nothing going on, he made something happen for us to have plans of some sort with whoever, like with whatever, and whatever. So it was like every single time that I had something on the horizon to like maybe I could chill that weekend, I wasn't able to because, and I know I could have said no, but then it's like, oh, well, I was doing everything, you know what I mean? So it was just honoring the marriage of being like, you said yes to some of my things, I'll say yes to some of your things. But I did tell him like this weekend we're going to farmers market on Sunday. I think we're getting some furniture from his buddy because we need a new couch, and I'm literally not doing anything else. Like I'm coaching Saturday. I'm gonna go run with his parents. I think we're gonna watch a movie. Like that's literally. I was like, do not put anything else on the agenda. I do not want to do anything. I need this. I need to be horizontal for the majority of the weekend. Um, And I feel like I could have just had, like, more time to do stuff. Like I said, there was chores around the house I didn't get done. I really need to start painting my cabinets, that I've been putting off for forever, and that's a lot on me, there's no reason why I couldn't make the time for it. I was just making time for other things I felt were just more important because I was so indebted to, like, "Oh, I wanna take back the summer." So I definitely learned, something like that, and every day doesn't have to become an opportunity for something. I think margin is actually what makes spontaneity available. So if I have space on the calendar, there's like if every space on the calendar is already filled, there's really no room left to decide what you actually need to do. So yeah, or things get like pushed back because of whatever. So I definitely need to work on that. Not even just for next summer, like for into the fall and winter as well. Number 3, I sometimes treated fun like another goal to accomplish. I think that was kind of like the whole point. I'm like, Operation Take Back the Summer. Um, so I definitely feel like there were moments of summer where enjoying my life just became like another item on the checklist. Like it was like, I will never be upset about going to the beach or spending time with my family and things like that. But like I was like trying to become like this person who could execute that very, very well. And just overdoing it. Like I said, it wasn't that I didn't have a good time. I had an amazing summer. I loved it, but I definitely have some things that I got to dial back on. And that's irony. That's the irony, right? You can be so intentional about enjoying your life that you actually start managing the joy right out of it. And I don't think I did that to a degree, but I definitely got burnt out a little bit with just so much going on. Okay, so here's what I'm taking forward, practically speaking. One, I'm going to protect 1 or 2 weekends each month, mostly leaving them unscheduled and letting that be available for rest, spontaneous plans, catching up at home, and not, filling up every weekend before the month even begins. Two, choose the experiences that matter most. So, not every single event needs a yes. No is a full sentence. I want to prioritize the people and the moments that are actually meaningful. And this is going to be a hard one for me because my friends and family that I keep close, I used to be everybody's best friend and hang out with all these different groups all the time and everywhere else. But I've got a pretty solid friend group now that is the same consistent people. So this is gonna be a hard one for me, because it's just like, well, I wanna say yes, and I love you guys, but I I I used to have FOMO, now I have, the fear of being invited, like, 'cause it's just like, you gotta decide. But number 3 is building recovery into the plan. So, like, each busy weekend might need a slower Monday, a trip might mean a reset day, extra coaching shifts might mean saying no somewhere else, and rest is a part of this of good things in life, whether you're working out or whatever. So I feel like this should be part of the schedule. Like I will literally put on the calendar like rest, relax, or nap, or like read a book or something like that. Number 4, keep the financial intention. I want to keep looking for purposeful income opportunities, and then give that extra money a job. I signed on a new client over the summer, which is amazing. God bless. But those funds specifically that I get from him are not part of the bottom line. Like I will save 20% and then the rest of it goes towards getting ahead of the debt because I don't know how long he's going to work with me. I can't just count that into my extra income. I obviously you want to, and I hope so. And I think that we will have a good lasting relationship. But at the end of the day, like it's extra income for now. So I'm going to treat it as such, and continue saving, paying off debt and, potentially using it for fun stuff as well. I want to make sure that I keep doing that. And, a good summer or a good season doesn't have to be an expensive one. And lastly, I just want to keep things simple. Like I said, beach time, outdoor walks, family dinners, affordable date nights, moving my body while traveling, time with friends, morning sunlight, just being present. I think those are very, very, very important. So here's the thing. I don't want to leave every good summer habit behind just because the season is changing. Like just because this worked in the summer doesn't mean that it can't work in another season. So here is what's coming with me in the fall. I will be more intentional with time outside, and it will be a lot easier to do so because it will be cooler out. At least cooler, it won't be as hot as the Florida summer months. Keeping with flexible movement. I've been feeling good doing the yoga and the extra mobility, so I'm going to keep doing that. I will be running the gate in 2027. I think it's in March, so I'm going to start training for that soon. So I will be running a little bit more on top of my regular workouts. I'm going to continue with purposeful spending. We will continue creative date nights. We're actually doing an at-home taco night this Friday or tonight, I guess, because you guys will be listening to this on Friday. And I'm going to keep protecting family and friend time. My grandpa's not doing so great. He's still okay, but he's not doing that great. We're going on a cruise in September, and we don't know if that's going to be the last cruise or last trip we go on with him. So I am, I love my grandparents. I'm very close with them. So that won't be really hard because I do spend a lot of intentional time with them, but I will be making sure to really dive into that in these next few months. And, just working on saying no. I have a physical calendar, like a big one where, you fold it out and you can see the whole calendar at once. It's hard to do that when you're just looking at a digital calendar all the time. And I cannot look at Google Calendar at a month glance because it is just way too chaotic. I have to, my Google Calendar needs to be looked at in a week at a time. But I have a paper calendar that I can spread it out and look at the month all together. I also have a calendar in my office. That's a whiteboard calendar, and we have one on the fridge as well. So when I have the full month that I can look at, it will make it a lot easier to be like, "Ooh, dang, that weekend's full. Oh, that weekend's full. Oh, that," you know what I mean? So it gives me time to say no before it gets too overwhelming. And just continue to let fun and responsibility coexist. I started picking up my guitar again. I haven't really done that for just no reason in God months, years, probably years. I've been, kind of burnt out. I got really burnt out playing gigs and I started playing again every once in a while, but it was like it started to become a chore again because it was like, oh, I gotta practice. Oh, I gotta do this. So now it's just like every, couple minutes while I'm waiting for something to render or waiting for something to come in, I'll just grab my guitar. It's right in my office and just, play my four chords that I know how to play. But, it's been fun. So that's been coexisting in my office space as well. And as always, just being present in the season that I'm actually in. I don't want fall to become because we have football and all these other things. It's a whole other thing to tackle in the fall where I suddenly stop living and start waiting for the holidays or just be so overwhelmed with football season like that that overtakes my everything, just because that's going on doesn't mean that has to like overtake everything. And I don't want that to be the same from this summer to be just a season that I like rushed through or overly started to manage. So before we close this one out, um, I want to leave you with a few words to sit with this week, so that you can kind of maybe take this into your summer, or from your summer into your fall. What worked for you? What helped you feel most like yourself? What memories are you most grateful for? Where did you overcommit? What left you feeling tired instead of fulfilled? What do you want to carry into fall? What do you want to do differently next summer? And when you think back on this season, what do you hope you remember? Operation Take Back the Summer was not perfect, but it worked. I'm really, really happy that it worked. I spent more time outside and made memories. I stayed active. I traveled. I worked hard. Hard. I made real financial progress. I spent time with family and friends. I invested in my marriage. And yes, I did also put too much on the calendar. And I ended the season a little more tired than I intended to be and some house chores that did not get done. But I would rather adjust a summer I fully lived than look back on another season I barely noticed. Here's a verse that sits with me as like we're reflecting all of us. And this is Ecclesiastes 3:1. It says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." I don't think that verse is just about the big seasons of life. I think it's about the actual seasons, the summers and the falls, the busy weekends and the slow ones. God built rhythm into creation on purpose. And I think he invites us to actually live inside each season instead of rushing past it just so we can get to the next one. The lesson I'm taking with me is that balance doesn't mean fitting everything in. It means knowing what matters, making room for it, and leaving just enough space to actually enjoy it. Fall is coming. Pumpkin Spice Girls reunite. and I'm, and I'm genuinely excited for the structure and the routines. I'm excited for the cooler weather. I'm excited for football and the new goals that will come with it. But before we rush into the next season, I hope that we can pause long enough to appreciate this one. The goal was never to have a perfect summer. The goal was to be present for it, and I really feel like I was. If this episode encouraged you today, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who needs to hear it too. You can find Beyond Broken Hungry wherever you listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Till next time, you got this, friend.